So let's see, we'll combine both of these two, AV and RV modes. We'll see how well it suits for us to achieve the requirement within a limited or a given number of rules. Okay. So let's see this example. Again, loan pricing is there. I have loan pricing and underwriting as AV modes, whereas MICO PL is going to be in the RV mode with a prerequisite called MICO. Okay, so always your prerequisites for your RV are represented on the braces. So MICO is the prerequisite here. Okay. Whereas loan framework, it has loan pricing FW, underwriting FW in the AV modes, MICO RV mode with PRPC as the prerequisite rule set. Okay, now let's see. So loan pricing, can it access rules from all the rule sets?
Yes.
Yes, definitely. Loan underwriting and MICO PL definitely, because same application. Rest of the three because built on application. Perfect. Then loan underwriting, can it access rules from all the listed rule sets?
Yes. Same application
Yes,
and
because
built on application.
exactly AV mode. So I'll check for same application, built on application. Perfect. MICO PL. So from where can it access rules now? Can MICO
From
PL
my
access rules from? Mhm. Go on, go on.
it will be able to access rules from MyCo.
Okay, only MICO, but not any other rule sets. Because MICO is the only prerequisite for MICO PL. So it can refer rules only from that rule set. Not from loan pricing, not loan pricing FW, not loan underwriting, not loan underwriting FW, except for MICO because it's on the RV mode. Perfect. Then what about loan pricing FW?
It can
Where can
access
it?
from loan framework only.
Exactly.
The
Only the
Pega
loan
rules
framework.
and loan underwriting framework and
Perfect.
MyCo.
Perfect. Yes, only those listed on this stack will be accessible. So the one that's above the stack, the loan application are not accessible. Perfect. And the same applies for your loan underwriting FW also, because again, it's also on the same AV mode. Okay. And then the last one, MICO. So what can it access rules from, or from which rule set can it access or refer rules?
From PRPC only.
Right. So obviously from MICO, it can anyways access rules. Other than that, it can access rules from PRPC, which is the base layer. Okay. So combining your AV and RV modes, you should be able to design an optimum solution for your application so that I don't need to create the same copy of the rule in different rule sets. Instead, even if it's in one or the other rule set, I should be able to refer or I should be able to access them on the other required rule sets. So that's the whole point. Right? So instead of creating multiple copies of the rules in different rule sets, I can set the modes accordingly. Right? So your generally we do suggest that whatever new rule sets we create, as a best practice, we create it as AV modes so that it's more accessible. Right? So I don't need to define any prerequisites and all. And you can have multiple prerequisites also if required. So my single rule set can be dependent upon multiple prerequisite rule sets. And again, you can define the order as well for your prerequisites. Like for example, now if I just go back to my organization rule set, so I see XYZ int as a prerequisite. If required, I can add in more. Right? So here you can access rules from these so-called rule sets. Right? Prerequisites can be multiple again. You can have them. So this decision of what you are trying to refer or your code or your business logic is spread across how many rule sets. So we consider all of these things, and accordingly we will decide if it has to be on the AV or on the RV mode. Okay, I mean, are we clear with this concept? Are we
Yes.
good with this? Perfect. So now when I say a rule set stack, right? So the system uh, checks after this. I mean, the priority is given to the top of the stack, and then this happens during the runtime. So when you execute your code, that's when the system starts checking the rules across your rule set stack. First priority is always to the top of the stack, and then if not found, it slowly digs deeper until the end of your application stack. Right?
Okay, so the
Yes.
built-on application, if it is there, and on the application stack, if I do not for the first rule set, if I do not
Mhm.
find the rule, it will descend and it will at last check the built-on application, right?
Exactly,
After the
exactly.
application
Right.
stack is over.
Correct, correct. So your stack, I mean, the one that we see here is only 4 rule
Mhm.
sets. But ideally, what is your stack is going to be, you can check on the profile here. The first rule set is always going to be your personal rule set, right? When you do checkouts, or sorry, when you do your private edits or checkouts, so that is going to be given the topmost priority. Right after that comes your application organization framework, and then finally your Pega related rule sets will come. So let me just show that. Still loading. So here I only see 4 rule sets. Doesn't mean your application is just built on these 4. No. So even though, for example, you don't have a built on, but still you should not say that I only have my application built on these 4 rule sets. No, it can never happen that way. Okay, so yes, you see, these are your rule sets. So the first, this is going to be your entire application stack, right? Probably out of which this one is your personal rule set for your private edits and checkouts. Then your application organization rule set, your UI kit. Then comes the rest of the PRPC stuff. So your application is built on all these rule sets, right? And here you can have your, I mean, if at all you have a built-on application, again, that would also be listed out on the stack. So now you see what is the advantage of the AV mode. Suppose I have something in HRS. I can definitely access or refer rules from some Pega end user, or I can access rules from some Pega rules legacy. Right? So that's the advantage you get when you go for the AV mode.
And if we have a production rule set, where it will
Mhm.
come on the operator profile, on which, for example, first we have.
Production. Mhm. So production rule set will generally not be listed on the operator profile, right? Because
Okay.
that's entirely part of the rule delegation, isn't it? So we don't directly see it on the application, or the operator profile directly. Okay.
Okay, but we have the access to the production rule
Yes.
set.
Yes. Right. Right. And one more important concept here is going to be the check-ins and checkouts of your rules, right? Because when I say there is uh, a separate rule set for your specific profile, right? So when I show this, so there comes a rule set called admin@HR. So what is this? So this rule set is going to consist of your checked out rules, or rules that you work on a private edit basis, which is only available for you, right? Not for other operators or for other developers working on the environment. So no one can access them except for you. That's like a local copy that you are building, right? So for checking out a rule, why should I even check out a rule? Why is this process check out, check in, private edit? Why should I go for them? It's because when you're working as a team, you're working as on the same environment. Suppose there is a requirement that one rule is handled by two different developers, okay, for two different functionalities. Now one person starts working on it, and suddenly the other person also starts working on it. He saves. Obviously, he's overriding the earlier person's changes, isn't it?
Yes.
So imagine the whole team working on the same rule, and whose version or whose copy is updated is probably the last one who saved the rule will be the updated rule, correct? Which means all the other changes are overridden. Now, in order to kind of remove these kind of discrepancies, we have this concept called rule check-ins and checkouts. So when you check out a rule, it's like you are bringing in something from from the code repository, and you're making some changes onto it. Okay. So while you're checking out a rule, no other developers can work on the rule. So they cannot directly work on it because you have already checked out the rule. It is in your handover. Until unless you check in it back, others cannot work on the same rule. Okay, it's like you're trying to get the authority of the rule by checking out, and once you play around with it, you make changes and make sure it is perfect as expected, then you check in it back, right? So that then rest of the team can start working on it, so they can check out the rule and then they can start working. Okay, so this checkout is possible when, so for checking out a rule you need to have two eligibilities. One is on the rule set level, one is on the operator level. So the rule set should allow for rule checkouts. How do I do that is on the rule set security, under the rule management, you have this option called checkout. Okay, so which means this rule set is enabled for rule checkouts. First thing. Then the operator level. As a developer or as an operator, are you allowed to make changes on the rules? So that can be part of your operator profile. Okay, so you should be enabled for rule checkouts to check out some rules on your application. So that's like a prerequisite. Two things. One on the rule set level, one on the operator level. Okay, so let's see. Now I have checked out, I have enabled the rule set for checkout. Okay, so let me go to the operator. Yes, so on the operator profile also, the security, so allow a rule checkout. So if this is not enabled, the concerned person is not allowed for any rule checkouts, right? He cannot update or manipulate any sort of rules if this is not checked. Yeah, so now let's see. Let me just randomly open any rule. Okay, just open the section. right? Now you see, earlier we used to just have save as, delete, and actions, but now we also got an option called checkout. So always a good practice to check out the rule first, make your changes, and then check in it back. Right? So when I check out, it gives me an authority for handling these rules. Okay. Now in the same time, if other operator wants to work, so does he need to wait until I check in it back? So probably I will work on it for the entire day. Now, can I or should the other operator keep on waiting until I check in it?
No. Uh,
No, ideally, no, because I cannot have that kind of a scenario, right? I cannot keep on waiting for 2, 3 days for the other developer to complete his work, then I will start. No, that's not a good approach for parallel development. So what we do is, so if a rule is in a checked out state by a particular developer, others can see it in the form of a private edit. So they can see a private edit of this particular rule. So which means it is like a local copy for them. They can make changes, they can validate it, they can test it, but they cannot deploy it or they cannot check in those changes. Right? It's like just a test copy of the rule set using your private edit. And these checked out rules or private edit will go on the operator profile. So that's what is your operator rule set that we see, which is always given the highest priority. So that's why when you make some changes as a private edit, so the new changes that you have brought will be implemented first. So because they would be given the priority. Right? So your private edit and check-ins and checkouts are three considered together. Right? So now, for example, I made in some change here. Uh, Once the change is made, I'll just put a label. Once my changes are done, I should check in it back into the repository. Okay, so once I check in, again the rule is now available for the team. So anyone can check out the rule and they can start working on it. Okay? And now once I check in it back, the system asks, I mean, like for what purpose are you checking in? Right? So we need to give in some comments, as in like this change is related to a particular story, so and so, or part of a particular functionality or a feature, so and so. A bit of comments have to be added. Uh, okay, probably some work in progress related to some story, something like this. I mean, your comments could be as no detailed as possible. Okay, so you can check in it back. And make sure before you check in, all the warnings or errors have to be cleared, and only then you can check in your rule set. Okay, and you can also see once you click on this tick mark, you can see all the checked out rules of your application. So when you have some bulk actions to take, probably you have modified some 25 rules for a particular requirement. So you checked out all of them. Now, the thing is you have to check in each one of them individually. So you should do this all over like 25 times. So instead of that, there are some bulk actions that I can choose. So this is more suitable for your bulk check-ins, bulk checkouts, and discards. So the bulk check-ins and checkouts are more suitable when you have made changes to a lot of rules. Right? So I think we have checked out two uh, rules. One is enabled for a private edit. I think this we made for a change on the portals. Right? Some case manager links is what we changed as part of a private edit. And this section, yes, it is just a checked out rule. You can give in your comments and you can directly check in those rules. Right? You can just click start and then your uh, check-in process would start. Okay? So this wizard is suitable when you have a lot of rules to be acted upon. Okay? But if it's just one or two, we can go for the individual check-in and check-out.
And if we, while checking in, if we have any error while doing the bulk check-in,
Hmm.
if
Hmm.
we face that there's one error in that particular section or particular rule, then what will
Hmm.
happen?
Yes, then you can see them here if in case something is not right. For example,
Mm-hmm.
so now I have an error with this, right? I mean, I'm not able to
Yeah.
check in this. For example, let me give you some comments. So you see, there is a status that is being displayed here. So whether your uh, check-in is successful or not can be seen. Okay, so here I see the
Okay.
status is not successful. Why? Because all of this so and so issues. So first I should go back, check the rule. I mean, what went wrong, I should correct it. Then I can come back and finish the process. Right? So here
Okay.
also, this private checkout is not enabled for this action. So for each of it individually, I can know what went wrong. So even though it's still a bulk thing, I can individually assess what went wrong. Okay, right. So I think that's all about the various aspects when it comes to designing or creating your own rule sets, and how do you version it, or how do you deal with the modes, be it your AV, RV, then your check-ins, checkouts, and private edit. Okay, so most of these are uh, design time aspects like your AV, RV, whereas check-ins, checkouts, and private edit, we do it on a regular basis. It's a daily task that we do. So so a bit of hands-on on check-ins, checkouts, and private edit. I mean, if as already you're on a project, you might have been aware of this, right? Where you
Yes.
check out and then check in properly. Yeah. So are we good so far? Any questions?
No questions, Neha.
Okay, okay. I mean, actually, we thought of taking it for an extra hour, but I think this aspect of whatever we have discussed today, I mean, it needs a little bit of reading again because the AV/RV modes could be a bit confusing. So just have a look at it and see, I mean, if possible, try to experiment also. Create some rules across different rule sets. See if you are able to access them across each other or not. Right? I mean, like just create two or more properties in each of these rule sets. Create one data transform and see if you are able to access those properties in that DT or not. Simple. You can just try that and check.